As noted, one of the charges against Socrates was that he did not worship the gods of the city of Athens, and that he introduced new gods. Socrates asks his accuser Meletus for clarification about what this means. Meletus responds that Socrates is an atheist and doesn't believe in the gods at all. Meletus claims, quote, he says, the sun is a rock and the moon is made of earth. Here, he's clearly trying to associate Socrates with some of the pre-Socratic thinkers who were known for such views. Realizing the ploy, Socrates asks, quote, do you suppose you're prosecuting Anaxagoras? It would seem silly to prosecute Socrates for views that another person was known for and which were publicly available for all to read. Meletus's charge says something about the contemporary Athenian sensibilities to the new scientific developments. It indicates a suspicion about the nature and results of scientific inquiry which potentially pose a threat to traditional religion. This is a common motif that we see in a number of ages where there were important scientific breakthroughs, such as the Renaissance or the Enlightenment. It should also be noted that at the time of Socrates' trial, Athens was still recovering from its defeat by Sparta in 404 BC, which marked the culmination of the long Peloponnesian War. This defeat led to much soul-searching in Athens and about its traditions and institutions. In this atmosphere of uncertainty, Socrates was a disconcerting figure. He seemed intent on tearing down things at just the time when people were looking to find points of stability upon which to rebuild. Socrates then goes on to show that the claim that he is a complete atheist stands in contradiction to the second charge that he introduces new divinities. If he's an atheist, then he would not believe in any of the gods and would have no desire to worship new ones. The second charge against Socrates seems to refer to what he calls his daimon. This means literally a god or something godlike. Socrates explains that this is a kind of personal deity that guides him in his actions. He discusses this charge with Euthyphro in the dialogue of the same name. In the Apology, he explains this phenomenon as follows, quote, it's something that started in my boyhood, a sort of voice that comes to me, and when it comes, always discourages me from doing what I'm about to do, never encourages me, end quote. Socrates says that this inner voice had kept him out of trouble throughout his life by preventing him from pursuing ill-advised ideas. Later, he says that throughout the trial, his daimon has been entirely silent, and he takes this to be an indication that he has nothing to fear with regard to the condemnation and death sentence. This is the new divinity that Meletus claims that Socrates is introducing. Meletus's charge again tells us something about Athenian sensibilities. In the Greek world, it was, as we've seen, a standard practice to consult the oracle at Delphi about all important matters. It was thought that this was the conduit through which the god Apollo spoke to people. This took place in a public temple, and many people made the pilgrimage to Delphi to ask their questions. As we've discussed, this practice demonstrates a certain humility with respect to human agency. Only the god can make certain decisions, and not human beings, even the ones directly involved. What seemed outrageous to Meletus, and presumably others as well, is Socrates' claim that he has his own private god giving him direct instructions. No one else can see this god or have access to it, but yet Socrates demands that its instructions be regarded as sacred and followed. To the Greek mind, this was a radical and sacrilegious claim. The external oracle had, so to speak, been transferred to something inward, the mind of a specific human being. In a certain sense, one can claim that this is the beginning of our modern sense of human agency. In our secular age, we believe that we can act freely based on the decisions of our own mind and conscience. We don't feel the need to consult with any external authority. Our own minds are authority enough. By changing the focus from something external in the world and moving it to the human mind, Socrates has taken an important step in the direction of modernity. This is a movement from deference towards an external authority grounded in nature to the realm of inwardness and subjectivity. But it will be noted that this is only a first tentative step. The daimon is not the same as Socrates' will. He himself is inclined to do one thing, but the daimon discourages him from doing this. So in a sense, although the daimon is something inward in his own mind, it's still something external since it's not synonymous with his own will. The idea of the daimon is just somewhere in between the externality of the oracle and the inwardness of the modern subject. Socrates' claim to be following the negative orders of the daimon is similar to his divine mission to question his fellow Athenians, which he believed he was ordered to do by the god Apollo. In both cases, he claims that he's acting on a divine directive that is contrary to what he otherwise would perceive as his own wishes and best interest. With these claims, he eschews virtually all responsibility for any action whatsoever. His entire life is dictated by the divine, and there's very little that he actually does that he himself decides upon. In this sense, his worldview is still very traditional. The ancient Greeks believed things to be determined by nature and established by custom was just an extension of this. There are natural laws against matricide and incest, and there are human laws against them as well. There was little leeway in the decisions made by individuals, since everything was already dictated for them ahead of time by custom. Once again, this is a radically different conception from our modern view, where we believe that as individuals, we have the right to decide most every aspect of our own lives, whom we marry, what profession to enter into, etc. In the Greek world, the role of the individual choice in such things was minimal.